Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Houston Sharpshooters Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 22. So in last episode, basically we had the entire offseason yet again, and we targeted another defenseman at the draft to help make our team better defensively, and so far our team is looking like it's getting to a point where we could be actually a playoff team. Now, obviously, our bottom six still is a work in progress. We got a bunch of 70 overalls and stuff like that, but we are getting close to actually having an NHL ready lineup, which is pretty good. And then on our defensive front, this is pretty much our weakest point, but we did bring in Liam Hedman, and I think he should help us out in terms of the blue line and helping us out a little bit offensively. And he also works really well with Tukin, which is also really good to see. But the rest of the top four is a work in progress, and hopefully these guys could get some good development, because if they could get some good development, then we're going to be in business in making the playoffs at some point. Also, we need our goaltending tandem to probably develop a little bit better, but then again, you could have a 77 overall goalie and win a Stanley Cup sometimes. So hopefully these guys could grow a little bit more as well, and yeah, hopefully we could have a pretty damn good season here in Houston. Last year we had like 35 wins, I think it was, or 30 something wins. So I'm thinking this year maybe we could do around the same, maybe a little bit better, because we now have a better defenseman in Liam Hedman down there. So we'll see how the season goes. Now, before we actually simulate the season, we do have a few comments to go over. So the first one is from HawksFan88. He says, team is definitely starting to look respectable. Won't be long before they reach the playoffs, which is hopefully the case. Like I said, I think our team is going to be getting close to the playoffs, probably within the next 5 years at least, because as long as the team continues to get some good development and stuff like that, I think we will be a playoff team at some point. And the last and final comment is from Jake Barabo. He says, love the series so far. Won't be long till we make the playoffs. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm having actually a lot of fun with the series. It might be one of my most fun series I've done so far, just because starting a team from the bottom and bringing them all the way to the top is always fun to do, and definitely pretty gratifying as a GM. So anyways, those were the comments in last episode. So also, before we start the season sim, we got to take a look at our new guys and what they look like, because I like to do that at the start of the season just because I'm kind of curious on some player faces and all that type of things. So for new players we have in the lineup this year, who do we got? I think a lot of these guys have been here for a few years. The only one really that I think is Hedman, and then also maybe Roach. Or did Roach play with us last year? No, he played with us last year, okay. So the only really one is Hedman that we got to take a look at in the NHL level, and then the AHL guys I'm not going to take a look at yet, because I will wait until they actually reach the NHL lineup. But let's take a look at what Liam Hedman looks like going into his first NHL season. He looks like this. So he looks like, let's go appearance. So he's got some nice little hair. He's got gray hair as well, though. Pretty funny. I've seen an 18-year-old with silver or gray hair, and the same with facial hair. Damn. That guy looks like he's been playing for I don't know, 20 years at this point. But it should be interesting to see how the those two guys in Tukin and Hedman do, and hopefully they could also help out that power play unit even more, because that power play unit's been really good so far the last few years, but the penalty kill is where we definitely need to improve on, I think, and obviously playing a little bit better defensively. So anyways, let's get started and sim this season and see how this team does. And hopefully we can have a successful year here in Houston and continue to develop. And hopefully we don't get the first overall pick in the draft, because I honestly don't want to have too much more first overall picks, because or else this team is going to be up against a cap pretty badly, I would assume, in the future. I'd rather just get a top 6 forward or a top 4D than an elite player at this stage. So we could just round out our bottom 6 or our defensive core a little bit. So we're 5-2 in the preseason, so that's I think our best ever preseason in franchise history. And wow, Jaskeline in 10 points in 7 games is pretty damn good. Whose contracts are up for renewal again this season? I think it's Tukin, right? Yeah, Tukin's the big one, and then we also got a bunch of other 70 overall guys. Hopefully a lot of those 70 overall guys do not want too much, because or else that could make it a little bit problematic in terms of contracts and stuff like that for next year and whatnot. So let's sim this season and see what happens. I'm expecting us to maybe get 30 wins again, but then again, who knows, because this game is kind of totally random. So actually we do have injuries on, so let me stop this for a second. I think I'm going to turn injuries down by 1 again, just because I honestly do not like the injuries. We had them last season and it slowed down the season by quite a bit. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. But it slowed down the season quite a bit because the AHL was getting slammed with injuries. So I'm going to put this down by 1 more point, down to an 8 out of 100 instead of a 9, just because I do not want injuries to happen as frequently as they were for the AHL last season. Like, I want them to still occasionally happen, but I don't want them to be like something that impacts the speed of these videos, because I would rather have these videos be around 25 minutes, maybe sometimes 30 minutes. But if they're like 35 plus minutes because of all the injuries, then a lot of people aren't going to watch throughout the entire video, more than likely. So, but we won our first game of the season and we lost a bunch in a row. There's a shootout win over Nashville, another win. Wow, okay, we're above 500 right now. Now we're losing games. We're off to a better start than I expected, to be honest. 7 wins already on the year. I think our coach's contract actually comes to an end at the end of the season, which means we're going to have to re-sign him because he's obviously got a really good scheme fit with this team. Hopefully he doesn't want too much money. But it's crucial that we get him back, or we find another coach with like a good scheme fit like that. But I would rather get the same coach back because we built up this team kind of around that coach to an extent. But we're right around 500 right now so far this season, which is not too bad. But now we're losing a bunch of games in a row. But still, this is our best start probably in franchise history, having 13 wins already. There's 2 wins in a row. There's a loss, another loss. Yeah, this season's probably going to end up being our best by far. I don't feel like we're going to be bottom of the league, but if we finish bottom of the league after last year, I would be kind of surprised. Because we were like 31st in the league, I think it was last year. We have 19 wins already on the season. And we're still kind of staying close to 500. But we're still definitely below 500. But at least we're still somewhat close. St. Louis is a win. Game against Detroit's a loss. Also, next-gen speed is so fast on this. So I love how fast it is for these videos. I got to stop the sim for a second because this game is going to do that stupid glitch kind of. 25, 30, and 8 so far. Damn, we've been pretty good. How are we in terms of the standings so far? We are currently not last place in the division. We're not last place in the league as well. It's good to see. Hopefully that continues for the rest of the way. And yeah, we're 11 points out of a playoff spot. I don't think we're going to make a playoff spot unless we go on and tear the last stretch of the season, but doesn't matter. I don't think we're going to make the playoffs till like a few years from now at least. Once guys start getting good development and stuff like that, because like our bottom 6 is definitely our weak point right now, like our depth scoring. So hopefully we could get that up in like the draft and stuff like that, if we could find some good prospects to bring in. And as long as these guys get good development, you know. OT loss. There's another loss. Damn, we're going to finish worse than last season, I think. Or maybe around the same as last season. I don't remember how much we finished with, but we finished 30, 42, and 10, which is not terrible. It's pretty solid. It is worst in our division. It is not the worst in the entire league, though. It's better than the Islanders so far and also better than the Flyers. But that's it. So once again, we're staying right around the same point. And also our offense seems to have dropped down in points, which is kind of weird. Maybe our depth scoring got better, and then that's why our top 6 hasn't scored as much. But Jaskalainen looks like he's going to have his worst season in quite a while, and looks like it's going to be our worst season offensively in quite a long time. So let's take a look at the standings first, and then we'll take a look at our player stats just to see who did what for us this season. And then we'll sim up to the draft lottery results and all that stuff, get you guys prepped up for the next off season. So entire league wise, let's see, where did we finish in terms of the entire league? We finished 30th, so we were better than the Seattle, the Islanders, and the Flyers. So I think last year we were 31st. I could be wrong with that, but we do still finish bottom 5 in the league, which is unfortunate, but hopefully it improves throughout the year, the next few years. We were one of the worst offensive teams, so it seems like our offense dropped off a lot, bringing in Hedman, which is kind of a surprise. It's kind of weird, because I'm pretty sure last year we were one of the better offensive teams, but this year we're not. Goals against per game wise, we were the worst defensive team, so we still need to make our defense a little bit better. That's definitely something we got to do. Power play percentage, we didn't actually run into any injuries, so I don't know if I should turn them back up to 9 for next season, because 8 seems to not give any injuries. But power play percentage wise, where are we? We had one of the worst power plays, so I think our power play got worse this year than it did in previous years, so we might have to readjust our power play units and stuff like that for next season. And then in terms of our penalty kill doesn't seem like it was that bad. Like, it wasn't top 10 at least, but it was 83.9%, so it was around mid-table. So our penalty kill was probably our best aspect this season. But 5 short-handed goals is not too bad either. 18, 19, and 4 on home ice, which means we were right around 500 on home ice, which is pretty good. But then on the road, we really did not do that well. So if I'm saying we need to address stuff, it's more just our depth scoring, I think, because our top lines and stuff like that can score. And in our bottom 6, we need to improve a little bit as well. And in our defensive core, we definitely need to improve because obviously that is our main concern right now, is keeping pucks out of the net. As long as our goalies can get some good development this year and the next few years, we should be able to start keeping the puck out of the net a little bit better. And if our defensive core gets some good development, we should be doing that as well. So that is that. Let's take a look at our player stats for the season, see who did what. So starting off with these centers, Raimo Jääskeläinen, 74 points in 82 games. Like I said, I think this is his worst season so far, which is kind of surprising. And he was a minus 17, which, yeah, definitely is worse than last season. And it's his worst total since his second NHL season. But, I mean, his plus-minus at least isn't terrible. So there's Jääskeläinen. And then Pasquale, 26 points this season, minus 17 as well. Not too bad, I guess, from him. Also his lowest total, though. Boris Zubov, 12 points. That's not terrible. He scored 9 goals, but still he's not much of an offensive player, and he's not really developing, which kind of sucks. So we're going to definitely need some more players on our bottom 6 for sure in this upcoming draft. Then we go to the left wingers. Gene Thornton only had 60 points this year. So the main concern, I think, this year was that Gene Thornton's scoring went way down. He had 80 points last year. But this year he dropped down to 60 points, and he hasn't scored 40 goals since his second season. So we need Gene Thornton to start scoring a little bit more goals if we want to be successful. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't really score that much this year. Interesting, because we signed him for an 8-year deal, so hopefully he get back to where he was. But he was a minus 10 only, which is good. Sidu was pretty solid, 59 points and a minus 4. He's up to an 86 overall, improving upon his first NHL season. Only a minus 4 is really good on a Draft to Glory team. Morales only had 55 points. Yikes. A lot of these guys really dropped down in terms of production. I don't know what it is, but from 83 to 55 points, that's like a major decrease. Like his shooting percentage last year, 20%, then this year, 10%. So it looks like Morales is a bit of a streaky player, and that's kind of unfortunate because he is only signed for 5 more seasons technically, and then we have to give him probably another big contract, and we might run into cap problems at that stage, who knows. Forster, 47 points. Not too bad from him. We signed him for 5 years at 2.3, which I think is a steal. Definitely gives us a decent player. He was actually a +2, so that's our first ever plus player in a season so far, which is pretty impressive on a Draft to Glory team for sure. Malhotra, 14 points. Yeah, you can see when the bottom 6 really struggled and our offense did, because our bottom 6 just does not pick up as much points as our top 6 does. And then Aegon had 10 points this year as well. He's up to a 71, but he's 23 already. Right wing wise, Korostin, 62 points, still playing pretty damn good. Like to see that. We have him signed for 3 more seasons at 4.2, so he's at least a good point producer for his overall. Dave Lannon, 25 points. He's up to a 75, which is almost the 4th liner. But still, it seems like our bottom 6 really needs to get a little bit more depth and a lot better overall players for sure than the 70s. We go to our defensive core. Teratukin had 50 points this year, which is pretty impressive. And yeah, he's going to want a bigger contract for sure. We're probably going to give it to him before we actually get into the re-sign stage, I think. Or yeah, maybe. Because then I can get him for like 85% or something like that. But yeah, it looks like he's going to be pretty solid. Liam Hedman, 36 points in his first season is not too bad. And he was a plus in his first NHL season, which is also pretty impressive. Up to a 79 overall now. And he's shooting 8.5%, which is really good for a defenseman. So looks like Liam Hedman is definitely going to help us out in terms of offense from the back end. And then Roger Turris, 24 points and minus 49. So it's maybe Roger Turris and Christopoulos. So I think Christopoulos next year will be in the AHL, even if he is a lower overall or a higher up overall than some of the guys in the AHL. It's mainly just because I feel like he is the weak link on this defensive core. Like him and Turris were really bad plus minus wise, while everybody else was somewhat respectable. Like Dubnyk was a -16, Roach was a -6 only. So yeah, I think we for sure have to take Christopoulos out of the lineup. As for goalies, though, Sven Jansson was pretty good. Got 24 wins this season. He had 2 shutouts. An .899 save percentage isn't too bad either, and a 3.45. Well, Braden Joseph was almost 500 actually, and he's up to a 74, which is pretty good. 903 save percentage as well, 322, not too bad, and some assists as well from our goaltenders this year. So that's pretty cool. Interesting. How did they finish in terms of the entire league out of curiosity in terms of points? I felt like they're way down. Yeah, I think our players just way dropped down in terms of production, and that's our problem from this season. It's interesting. Oh, that Dominguez guy that we could have drafted had 43 goals. Interesting. Goalie-wise, the best goalie was Lankinen this season. Interesting. Most shutouts this year. Demko and Lankinen. Interesting. I don't usually look around the league in terms of this franchise mode, but might as well for this. Best rookie this year is going to be Brody Sanders. Hedman is top 5 in rookie points, which is not too bad. Interesting. Okay, so that is a wrap up on this season. I think I'm already going to offer, Tier 2 a contract extension before we actually simulate up to the draft. Just because might as well get his contract out of the way. Because the rest of these guys are going to want like 1 point something. Yeah, the rest of these guys are relatively cheap. But Tier 2 he wants, if I go to 8 years, he wants 11 million, which I'm going to have to figure out what 85% of this is so we could offer him a good deal. But I need to lock him up for 8 years because we need a defenseman like this to stick around as long as possible. So let me open up our calculator here and do a little bit of math. So $11 million almost, or well, 11.50K pretty much. We got to times that by 0.85, and we're going to be offering him 9.395. 9.395. Or wait, actually, well, yeah, right here, 9.4 for 8 years. See if we can get him for that, and hopefully we can, because obviously, like I said, he is the main piece on that back end of the future, him and Hedman. So now that we have finished the season sim, let's simulate up to the awards and all that stuff, and then find out where we're going to be drafting in the draft. Hopefully we don't have a first overall pick though, because like I don't really want to get into cap problems, because we have so much elite players that we really only need a top 6 forward. And Teratukin's already going to accept, which is really good because he is our top defenseman. So welcome back, Teratukin, for another 8 years, which is really good to get him locked up till 2035. So. But yeah, we're going to definitely be closer to the cap floor, I would assume, next season. So, who is going to win the Stanley Cup this year? It's going to be the Buffalo Sabres. Interesting. Utica won the AHL. Let's take a look at those awards, see if we got anything for our AHL team or whatnot. We actually didn't take a look at the AHL stats, so let me quickly do that for the regular season. Holloway was good. Whitaker was good. Looks like some of our prospects were actually good, which is nice to see. How about the goalies down there? Soderstrom was pretty good. He had 4 shutouts. He's up to a 74. That's awesome. He might be in the NHL next season, which is good to have an elite goalie get to the NHL. And Cam Beats was not that bad. Okay, not too bad. Love to see it. Let's take a look at those awards now. So Buffalo wins the Stanley Cup. Toronto won the Presidents. Anaheim Buffalo Stanley Cup Finals. The Art Ross went to Leon Draisaitl. Austin Matthews wins the Hart. Rasmus Sandin wins the James Norris. That's kind of surprising. Aho wins the Lady Byng. Sanders wins the Calder for Toronto. Anze Kopitar won the Conn Smythe in Buffalo. Okay, that's one of the weirdest things I've seen. Allmark wins the Vezina. Allmark wins the Jennings. Romanov wins the Masterton. LaHoo for Dallas wins the Jack Adams. Selke went to Pedersen. Matthew to Lindsay. And Matthews to Richard. Interesting. AHL-wise, any awards for our AHL boys or not? None. Not a surprise really though. So those are the awards for the season. Also, I'll quickly show you guys the playoff tree, just in case you guys wanted to take a look at that. So there you go. So that is that, and now we got to sim up to the draft lottery results, see where we're drafting. We'll take a look at the progress reports and the contract situation, and then that'll be it for this episode. But yeah, hopefully the draft is decent, and we do not have we have 5th overall. Okay, that's fine. We fell back a little bit. I don't mind that because, like I said, obviously it gives us a chance to get somebody that's not as expensive as a contract in the future. So I will definitely take 5th overall. But that means we're still going to get an elite player regardless, unless it's just a random like high top 6 or something like that. Retired players don't really matter too much, but the biggest name is Voracek. A lot of the guys that played like 07, 08 is their first season. So there's that. And in goalie-wise, the best goalie to retire is Varlamov, Freddie Anderson up there as well, that type of thing. Interesting. And Kristanov is now a coach, which is interesting. Didn't expect that. And coach retirement-wise, did we lose anybody? No, we did not. Okay, that's good. Because if we would have lost like a coach, I would have been kind of mad. Okay. So, let's take a look at, first, let me actually take a look at our coaching staff again, just because I'm kind of curious if our coach's contract ends this offseason. Yes, it does. Okay, so we're going to have to give our head coach a long-term deal, because this guy is like the perfect fit for our team right now. Like, he's a 68%. I think it dropped down a little bit. It used to be like a 70-something, but unless we can find a better one, which I don't think we can, I definitely need to re-sign that guy. But his overall has dropped down to a C, which is kind of questionable. We might have to find a new coach with a better overall, because maybe that's why our team did a little bit worse this year, because he's dropping in overall. But other than that, let's show you guys the draft class. So we have 5th overall in this draft. Oh, yeah, shit. Oh, no. Okay, this year is going to be really tough, boys. This year is going to be really tough. I forgot completely that in last episode, I did not sign any scouts. And we did not sign any scouts at the start of the season, like I said I was going to do in last episode, which means we have no idea on any player in the entire draft on how good they are. Which means this is going to be the hardest draft to glory episode we've ever had next episode in picking on who we want to draft, because we do not know who any of these guys are really at all. Like, I mean, if we're just taking the best player at 5th overall, he's probably going to be an elite player regardless, but when we get to the later rounds, we're going to run into a very tough time deciding on who we get. Oh, no. I meant to sign some scouts. Like, I was thinking about it right last night before I was, in the morning, I got to record, and I got to sign some scouts for sure. But I completely forgot. And, yeah, that means it's going to be a very tough time deciding on who we draft. Oh, man. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll find a random good player, but we know nothing about this draft. It still says scouts recommended, though, which is good. But obviously, we don't have scouts, so I don't know who's recommending it. But more than likely, we would probably take Kapitanov. Don't know anything about this guy. I guess we'll just go off like point totals or something like that. But Kapitanov wouldn't be that bad because he gives us a good winger prospect. There's also another centerman, some defensemen as well, which is not terrible. But Kapitanov is probably the best option, I would assume. Well, that blew up in my face. I completely forgot about scouts. So we're definitely going to have to sign scouts in next episode, so don't let me forget about that, because if I do, I will probably... this team is probably not going to be able to get good prospects in at all. But who knows. Let's take a quick look at this progress reports. So, looks like some statistical growth as well as some natural growth. Yeah, wow. Okay, a lot of natural growth from Seaback, which is kind of not what I expected. Maybe it's because he's got an X factor. But Seaback's getting a lot of development, which is really good to see. Pasquale's getting development, it looks like, as well, which is natural. That's good to see that we're getting some good natural growth from some of the bottom 6 players. And like I said, Soderstrom probably will be in the NHL next year, or we could wait another year. But he's got X factors, so it should be interesting to see if he can get to the NHL level soon. No development from Dubnyk, which really sucks, but then again, he's a 7th defenseman. So yeah, we definitely need to pick up some better defensemen in order to replace Christopoulos and Dubnyk in the NHL. But we do have some of the minors, so I guess we could call them up at some point. We look at the in the system wise, we are getting development from a few players, which is good to see. Low elite guy is developing as well. We drafted a low elite last year. It's good to see him getting some development, but he's probably not going to develop into anything huge. We also have this low elite that is getting to get some good development. And a lot of players that aren't getting any development, which is not good. Like McIver, Afanasenkov. Lynch isn't even growing at all either. Yikes. I don't know why a lot of these guys aren't getting development. We might have to find a new coach in the AHL or something. Because maybe that's the main reason why. I don't know. And goalie-wise, yeah, no growth from any of those goalies. Okay, so that is that. Now I'll show you guys quickly the contract situation, and then I'll be it for this episode. But do not let me forget about getting scouts. Like, somebody just comment, reminder to sign scouts or something like that, because or else I'm going to completely forget. And that's not going to be good because this year's draft is going to be so tough. But for contracts that are up this offseason, we got Pasquale, who's going to be relatively cheap, which is good. Goldobin, who should be cheap. A lot of these guys are probably going to be pretty cheap for now. But yeah, we're going to start getting closer to the cap at some point. But for guys in the system, we do have guys that could jump up into the NHL and replace some of these guys if we needed to let go of some of these dudes. But like I said, I think Christopoulos is going to be in the AHL next season because he's just not been good enough defensively. And he wants a two-way deal as well, so. But that is that. Also, we do have Tursunbayev, who's up to a 70 overall. I didn't realize that. That's good to see. He'll probably be in the NHL at some point. Like that. I think that's pretty much it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode of our Houston Sharpshooters Drafted Glories. So in next episode, we will have the entire offseason. We'll sign some scouts if you guys can remind me just in case, because I'll probably end up forgetting again.